bahawa sesungguhnya kami memberi kabar akan seluruh kebaikan di sepanjang kami dari awal permukaan dengan petunjuk hidayah. Kami mohon berlindung kepada dari segala kejahatan yang terdapat pada hari sebelumnya dan pada hari selepas. Allahumma aslih lana dinana allazi huwa ismatu amrina wa aslih lana dunyanana allati fiha ma'ashuna wa aslih lana akhiratana allati ilayha ma'aduna waj'al al-halala ziyadatan lana fi kulli khair waj'al al-mauta rahatan lana min kulli syarr. Ya Allah, kami mohon kepada-Mu dianugerahkan hidayah dan taufik kepada kami agar usaha kerja yang kami jalankan dipermudahan ketika menghadapi masalah, ditingkatkan kualiti kerja dan seterusnya beroleh kejayaan dan keberkatan. Ya Allah, kami dibertanggungjawabkan dengan amanah yang berat, maka anugerahkanlah kepada kami keupayaan dan kemampuan untuk melaksanakan amanah dan tanggungjawab. Janganlah Engkau berikan kepada kami beban yang berat sebagaimana Engkau berikan kepada orang-orang sebelum kami. Wahai Tuhan kami, janganlah Engkau pikulkan kepada kami apa yang tidak sanggup kami memikulnya. Berikanlah kehidupan kepada kami, ampunilah kami dan rahmatilah kami. Hasbunallah la ilaha illa hu alaihi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arsyil azim. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much everyone for coming in as early as 8 a.m. Minta maaf. Sekejap ya, kat hospital ni tengah baca doa. Kita kejap ya, bagi laluan sekejap. Okay, I guna tablet ni dia tak boleh share screen tau. I pun tak tahu kenapa. Forever lah kan, I kan. Tapi you all boleh dengar tak suara I? I tak boleh cakap kuat sangat kat sini. Boleh dengar tak? Dengar ya. Okay, now for today's class, we're going to continue on chapter 4. I dah buat chapter 3 ke belum? Dah habis kan yang total loss tu? Total loss lah. Types of losses. Dah kan? Okay, thank you. So just bear with me on the sounds and whatnot. Hopefully that you can listen to my voice. Minta maaf lah ya. Kejap. Just take care of your, buka you punya marine law and underwriting chapter first, chapter 4. Okay. Banyak pula bunyi kat sini, tak dengar sangat, sorry. Okay, now for chapter 4, you all dengar tak suara I? You all tak dengar sangat suara I? Okay, dengar ya. Sabar sekejap sebab baru pukul 8 kan, semua orang baru masuk kerja. Okay, this chapter 4, we're going to go into what are the factors, the underwriting factors that usually being looked into for the maritime cases. Now, I'm not talking about cargo, I'm not talking about hull, but this is an overall We are talking about overall underwriting considerations that what we need to have in maritime insurances. Okay. So do you have your slides with you? Ada slide dengan you all? Semua
Ada.
orang ada, thank you. Okay, this number one is what makes us choose certain types of transportation. Okay, we know that in cargo, the scope of cover is from warehouse to warehouse. When we are talking about warehouse to warehouse, we are talking about the warehouse that uses inland transportation, and then it moves to the port. We are using sea transportation, and somehow when getting to the port from the warehouse or from the port to the warehouse, we might be looking into the mode of transportation such as rail or even air transportation. Okay, so here the choice of I tutup kamera boleh ya? I tutup kamera ya. Okay, here when we are talking about the transportation mode, you have to imagine ya. Let's say Hasif ada warehouse dekat Ipoh. Okay, from Ipoh he wanted to send his cargo from Penang port. Okay, from Ipoh warehouse, the cargo was brought to Penang port via lorry, via road transportation. Okay, the cargo reaches Penang port. Now from Penang, he wanted to transmit to, for instance, to United States of America. Okay, uh, his cargo might be transit at in Japan lah katakan. Daripada Japan mungkin dia flew ambil kapal terbang. Okay, from ke macam tu, lebih kurang lah kot. Okay, katakanlah daripada Penang pergi Japan, from Japan the cargo flew to United States. Okay, so when it reaches US airport, so that particular cargo now will be transmitted via road transportation. Let's say to Connecticut lah katakan. Okay, so it involves road, sea, air, again road. Okay, so these types of transportation, you must know what are the medium that it being used to transmit from the cargo of the seller's warehouse to the warehouse of the buyer's warehouse. So you kena ingat ya, cargo sekarang ni daripada Malaysia from Ipoh to Connecticut. Hasif punya cargo daripada Ipoh nak dihantar ke United States. So various mode of transportation are being used. So this one, when we are talking about what are the choices of transportation, it means that you must know what are the characteristics and what are the risk exposure to the transportation that you are using. Okay, because here it will also look into not only looking into the mode of transportation, what are the characteristics of the transportation, but also we are looking into what are the capacity of the cargo. Okay, when we're using into and the suitability of the cargo by which means of transportation that we are using. Will you choose which type of transportation to transmit your cargo from the warehouse of the seller to the warehouse of the buyer? So this is very important when we are looking into the underwriting factors, underwriting considerations, where we wanted to suggest what type of policies and what are the rate of premium that we are charging to the insured. Okay, now from one end to another end, because when you're talking about cargo insurance, you are looking into from the warehouse of the seller to the warehouse of the buyer. That coverage is suitable for one policy, which is the marine policy. Is either is a cargo policy or freight policy, yang itu kita kena tengok. Okay, so these are the mode of transportation that you need to consider. Okay, and then also the factors of price. When we are looking into transportation, we are looking into, let's say, the capacity of your cargo that you want to transmit. Either it is viable or not, either it's cost effective or not for you to use aeroplane. Now, mesti you kata, madam, dah tu kenapa dia ambil marine insurance? Now, looking back at Hasif punya, yang saya bagi contoh on Hasif Cargo maybe he has a buyer in Japan as well as he has a buyer in United States. Okay, so the most fastest mode of transportation, maybe from Japan flew to America will be cheaper because the volume of the cargo is not that huge. Okay, mungkin asalnya cargo tu besar, banyak daripada Malaysia nak pergi ke Japan, because you have to remember the seller is sending to the buyers at different types of places. One is in Japan, another one is in America. So the mode of transportation will accordingly looking into the volume, the space that we're using, and also the price, the cost. So here you might want to advise, or kita tak advise lah, we don't actually advise our customer, but we wanted to see what are the effective effective modes of transportation in transmitting the cargo from one place to another place. Okay, the second slide that we are looking into is the factors affecting a choice of transportation. Now, what makes us choose certain types of transportation? Number one is we are looking into the natural characteristic of the goods and overall quantity. For example, if you are sending perishable items or perishable cargo, you can't be imagined that these perishable cargo will be stayed there in a long period of time. But when we are talking about poultry, we're talking about meat, we're talking about any poultry lah. Okay, that one can be considered to have a longer period of time when you want to transmit your poultry from one end to another. Tapi katakanlah kita cakap pasal buah-buahan, fruits, vegetables, that is more perishable. Okay, you cannot, that particular fruits cannot be there to went through to or to undergo a long apa orang kata long period of time. Okay, contoh macam ni lah, most of us, we know that the best berries is from US, from America. So we are waiting for that season, the berries season in America. So takkanlah seasons, kan sebab berries they have seasons kan. So we are not expecting that you have to went through a long period of time for you to to transmit from America to here to Malaysia. So you have to choose what are the nature of your goods. Either it's perishable or either it is combustible materials, or what type of cargo that can give allowance to you at what certain period of time. Masa tu penting. Okay, and also we are talking about overall quantity. If we are talking about in bulk, ni benda ni selalu berlaku bila Chinese New Year. When Chinese New Year, it happens that we imported oranges from Mandarin, especially Mandarin oranges from the United States or from the China province of China kan. So bila dia transmit to Malaysia, selalunya dia buat gini, dia akan hantar in bulk to Malaysia at Port Klang, and from Port Klang it will distribute to other region in the Southeast Asia region lah. So selalunya buah mandarin ni, oranges ni, it will not last long. So it will take about 2 weeks, 1 week plus from China, let's say from Shenzhen port to Port Klang, it will take about one to 2 weeks time. And from there, if you want to transmit the oranges to Bangkok or to other regions in Southeast Asia, you might want it to use air transportation. That is the fastest way to get there. Okay, sebab benda ni memang these are the modes of transportation that being used usually when it happens to perishable items or cargo. Okay, number 2 is about time factors. Either it is urgency or not. Urgency and of transit and also seasonal movements. Okay, dia nak kena tengok how fast that you must get your cargo to the buyer, because if you want to say that if you have the cargo that very sensitive to time, okay, kita tak nak nanti cargo tu sampai dalam keadaan yang dah busuk. Siapa nak beli? Okay, limau yang dah terlalu masak. Okay, and it will lead to orang kata benda yang akan merugikan peniaga. You want it to be JIT when it comes to the customer. Just in time policy is very important. And then number 3, we are looking into the alternative schedule or modes of transshipment. Now you will be looking into words or jargons like transshipment. What is transshipment? Now we have transshipment port in port of Tanjung Pelepas that we have in Johor. One, we have that quite efficient transshipment port. Transshipment port ni apa? Katakanlah barang you daripada Vietnam nak dihantar ke Jepun katakan. Okay, you will be using Johor Port PTP, Pelabuhan of Tanjung Pelepas, to make sure the transshipment of your cargo being done there. Okay, because of the facilities that we have in Port of Tanjung Pelepas. Okay, you have many cargo from other parts of the region, especially from our region, our ASEAN region. So they park, meeting place in Port of Tanjung Pelepas, and Port of Tanjung Pelepas, when they get these cargo consolidated or transship, they will transship there, and also they will send that particular cargo to the port of destination. For example, maybe port of destination will be in Japan or in Taiwan. It can be and elsewhere the rest of the world. So this is what we call as the, whether you have that alternative schedule or modes of a particular transshipment that you need to consider for door-to-door delivery service or whatnot. Okay, so that will be the third factors of how that you will choose the right choice of transportation. And then number 4, we are talking about the total cost of distribution. This is very important for you to know the cost. The cost of it will give the impact to the price. Katakanlah kita ambil, we are as a user. Of course, you will, let's say you were as a buyer, as a seller, you sell your product to your buyer, as a seller to your buyer. You wanted to look into, you have had a certain price that being locked for that particular cargo. So now you can't afford to have an increase in the cost of distribution. So you must make sure the cost of distribution is equivalent to the price that you are selling to your buyer. Okay, so these are the 4 things that you really need to look into as the factors that what type of transportation that you wanted to use. Okay, number 5, we are talking about contractual obligation that laid in the letter of credit or set of trading conditions. As I mentioned earlier, you have set precedent, oh no, not precedent, you have set the price of the cargo earlier. Okay, so here you kena tengok dalam contractual obligation ni macam mana. Katakanlah dalam contractual obligation you kata, okay, we're going to send to you via sea and via let's say via air for you to get your cargo at certain period of time. Okay, sebab macam I katalah, kalau kita katakan kita nak jual mandarin oranges, kita tak nak benda tu jadi dah terlalu masak kan, when the price, the quality of the oranges is not there anymore as you promised your buyer. And then also we have the IR, the industrial relation. We are talking about maybe the political condition, you're talking about the climate factor, you're talking about the staffs. Okay, adakah staff ni puas hati ke tak puas hati ke, rusuhan ke tidak ke, because it happens around the world. This is very much being influenced, ya, macam dekat India kan, there are the farmers. Farmers there, sometimes they do rioting. Okay, with this, these are the things that will actually affect the transmission of your cargo from one place to another. You promises your buyer that the cargo will be there in 2 months' time, but due to the riots of the farmers, katakan pernah berlaku ya, about 5 years ago, ada farmers yang memang mogok sebab harga sangat sikit that orang tengah pemborong ni beli daripada diorang, so they don't want to sell their crops. So that will be the affecting factors that you need to consider, or unstable of political condition in certain country. katakanlah country tu tiba-tiba sekarang ni dekat Turki, dekat Middle East banyak berlaku peperangan kan, Israel dah start serang negara-negara lain dekat kawasan sebelah sana. So this one is the industrial relation, and then limitation of termini. This is basically to look into the effectiveness of your intermediaries or your agents. Okay, so limitation of termini is also being effective to, or having impact to your contract. Okay, and also limitation of various transportation modes. Again, if let's say the area, for instance, you wanted to go to the Gulf area, so this area has a limitation, you might want to choose another type of modes of transportation. You have to be available for various types of transportation. So basically, we have 8 factors to consider the choice of transportation, how to transmit your cargo from one end to another end. Okay, you all faham ke? I ni cakap je tau, you tak faham, I do not know whether you understand or not. Any question on factors affecting the choice of transportation? Any question? So far, boleh faham? Guys, okay ke tak okay ke? Okay ya, you all dengar ya? Okay, Alhamdulillah. So let us go, and kita sekarang ni kita nak tengok, I move on to the next slide. Yeah, this is on sea transportation. So now we know that, yeah, we are talking about marine insurance kan. Of course, marine or maritime exposure is, we are looking into sea transportation. This is our core business. The core business under marine insurance is about maritime risk. We are talking about sea transportation. We are talking about sea perils. We are talking about everything about sea medium of waterway lah. Okay, so when we are talking about sea transportation, number one, there is no toll. You tak ada siapa nak there is no toll gate. You can use the waterway as you wish according to yelah, kita kan ada you have the route is yours lah katanya ya. There is no charge for the use of the way. Wide variety of vessels. You can have a huge vessel. You can have a gigantic vessel, like what you have in kita ada the most gigantic vessel that we have selalunya apa ya? Companies like Evergreen or Maersk Liners. They are all the gigantic vessel provider that offers ni. Kalau you kata cargo you sikit, you nak cepat, maybe you might wanted to use a lesser ataupun kapal yang lebih kecil. So it offers you wide variety of vessels. Okay, and the cargo can be carried cheaply as compared to other modes of transportation. But somehow there are limitations of using sea transportation. So I have drawn up like 7 limitation of sea transportation. That number 1 is practice of sabotage. What is practice of sabotage or coastal traffic limited to national flag vessel? For instance, certain countries will macam mana kata, they have certain national flag that is not allowed to use the waterway or the air traffic, laluan udara kan yang tak dibenarkan. In general, Malaysia doesn't allow, in general, yeah, I'm not talking about specific ni, but somehow in general, Malaysia doesn't allow Israelians national flag to use our waterway or airway of Malaysia. This is memang kita dah ada, tetapi I will not deny that some vessel carrying certain products that carries the national flag of Israel uses our port. Tetapi tak semua. Okay, the limitation ini yang kita namakan sebagai practice of sabotage. Okay, so mungkinlah saya pun tak pasti, tetapi baru-baru ni memang ada, they found that the vessel carrying Israel flag enter into Malaysia waterway to send in cargoes. Okay, so it creates somehow situation whereby we are not so pleasant with that situation. Okay, but how do you actually look into the national flag vessel where the vessel being registered? For example, if you're the owner of the cargo or the owner of the vessel lah, particularly the owner of the vessel are from let's say from India, tetapi they register under Malaysia, so the flag will carry Malaysia flag. Sama juga dengan United States. There are some coastal area that apa orang kata that have that sabotage of America flag, that they cannot enter into certain ports of the world. Dia adalah sabotage atau limitation of this flag vessel ni. So apa yang mereka buat, owner kapal daripada Amerika, dia akan register under Panama country. So Panama will have a more large coastal entrance in the world. Okay. Number 2, we are talking about termini problems. This is inaccessible to certain vessels. Certain vessels are not allowed to enter into certain port of the world. So this is, you must be very cautious about the termini problems. These are stated clearly in the contract letter of credit or in the contractual obligations. Okay, and number 3, we are talking about equipped ports in handling particular consignments. Some ports in the world, they do not have the equipments to handle large or huge vessel, gigantic vessel. Tetapi kita in Malaysia, where we are talking about Penang Port is quite small. So kalau dia nak handle gigantic vessel, they might not have the equipments, that suitable equipments to handle. But when we are talking about Port of Tanjung Pelepas, yes, they do have that equipment, and in that case, that's why Port of Tanjung Pelepas is known as the transshipment port among the choice of transshipment. Kita ada Singapore. Singapore is very next to Port of Tanjung Pelepas, and this, macam mana nak kata, Tanjung Pelepas dah ambil 5% to 10% of the business from Singapore Port, and Singapore Port sekarang ni dah kelang kabut. PTP dah ambil 5 to 10% of the business. Even dia so-called that dia curi 1% pun dia dah mengelabah kan. So what did Singapore Port does is that dia dredge the port, and dia buat satu lagi port dekat Tuas. And with this activity of dredging and melebarkan lagi kawasan dekat port tu, menyebabkan Tanjung Pelepas Port ni jadi shallow water. Bila dia ada selut, dia ada shallow water, it will affect kapal tak nak masuk tau pelabuhan yang ada selut atau pelabuhan yang cetek, sebab nanti sangkut dekat seabed. Okay, so it will cost them another cost of extra cost of the vessel. So what they did is that what PTP does is that they dredge the waterway, so they dalamkan balik, and then selut-selut ni dia terpaksa buat clearance of the selut. Kalau you perasan masa I hantar you video on the effect of kapal kan, selepas mereka melalui kawasan yang dah lama dekat perairan, they wanted to do clean up kan, bila dia kena ada apa orang kata, they have to do their maintenance. You can see the situation of situation tu lah yang apa ni. Kejap ya, Mak lagi mana? Sejuk. You kejap ya. Mak, nombor dah ambil dah Mak? Nombor belum ambil ya? Nombor dah panggil dah bilik 11. Belum. Mak kena duduk kat sini yang nampak nombor. Kat sini tak nampak nombor. Mak duduk tepi sini, boleh tak Mak? Suka tidur ni. Mak masuk sini, nanti dia panggil nombor nanti Mak boleh nampak. Lambat juga ya dia panggil. Kejap, Mak tak letak ni, tak letak kad. You all kejap ya. Allah, saya lupa dah lama. Saya tunggu. Sekejap ya. Lupa nak letak kad. Patutlah Mak tunggu lama. Okay, sorry. Keluar cover sikit. Okay, and then kita kena tengoklah the equipments that every ports have. Okay, itulah cerita dia, maknanya in terms of political issue kan, macam mana how we have to beat ataupun we have to macam bersaing jugalah dengan Singapore. You kena ingat tau, Singapore port are being funded by Singapore government, but Pelabuhan Tanjung Pelepas is funded by private sector. So dari segi the capital that they have, of course we are talking about when we are looking into Singapore port, they have a larger capital as compared to us sebab they are funded by by the Singapore government. And then number 4, we have to look into the climate condition such as fog, rain, especially when we are having like rainy season kan, the fog is very quite thick, and this will disrupt the port working condition and also the traffic of the port. Now, how important does when you have to control your traffic at the port? Bila lambat, okay, when you have too busy traffic, if it is efficient, for example, Singapore port, the traffic is very high, but apa orang kata, dia punya flow dia very effective and efficient, so the movement is very fast because it involve money. We are talking about business kan, the delay will increase the cost of that particular business, so we have to look into it. And then seasonal wind and wave may limit the payload of the vessel. Tapi kita ni, sebab kita kawasan semenanjung kan, at the peninsula area ni, they are very I boleh kata selamat lah. Why selamat? Sebab dia ni dilindungi oleh apa orang kata, oleh Sumatra Island as the gauge to our wind situation. Jadi kalau ada angin laut yang sangat kuat pun, we have that Sumatra Island to be the shield for our ports. So kita ni lebih consistent. When we are talking about seasonal wind and wave, we are a bit consistent because of keadaan kedudukan geographical location of our peninsula Malaysia. Dah ya Mak? Bilik 11 ya Mak? Okay. Sorry. Aduh, hai. Macam I ni kan. Okay, and then large tidal range may be detrimental to a port since the vessels are to be afloat at all time. Impounded dock are necessary and can be expensive and to build and maintain. Dia macam ni tau. High tide is bila you are talking about bila ada air pasang. What is high tide? High tide ni bila air tu pasang, air akan naik. So you just imagine the deck, or what we call it as the wharf of the certain area of the port, we have that standard apa orang kata standard height. Tapi tiba-tiba air pasang, air akan melimpah naik ke atas deck. It can be called as the wharf, it can be called as the deck or the dock. So this compounded deck ni, dia kena afloat all the time. So it has to suit the water level at the port. So biasanya the most current modern port, it is adjustable lah according to the water level. Jadi dia boleh turun dalam keadaan stagnant, bila kapal tu melalui air surut atau bila air pasang, bila air pasang yang melampau, dia akan increase. That's why dekat Kedah kan baru-baru ni yang banjir besar tu kan, it's actually affected by salah satu sebabnya dia being affected by the tidal condition of the water. Okay, and then finally tides, when combined with fogs and darkness, further restrict the movement of the vessel. Tapi macam I kata lah, the situation of us in the coastal area of the location of our ports are quite stable. Okay, whereby kalau kita cakap pasal angin pasang, air pasang, kita cakap pasal keadaan kabus yang sangat tebal, ataupun when the kabus, yes, fog, yes, but otherwise when we are talking about the movement of the tides ke ataupun seasonal winds and wave tu is quite stable, because the location of our location kita ni memang the Sumatra Island as our shield. Okay, so that's on the limitation of sea transportation. So now I'm only focusing on sea transportation. I'm not looking into the air transportation or the road transportation, but I just want to inform you, kita kena ingat that for cargo and also we are talking about cargo je lah dulu. Under Institute of Cargo Clauses, the apa orang kata, the coverage will start from from warehouse to warehouse. Maknanya the allowance of warehouse of the buyer to the warehouse of the buyer of seller's warehouse to the buyer's warehouse. So now when we are looking into shipping service, we have two types of the main types of shipping services, which is linear trade and also charter service. When we are talking about linear trading, this is based on schedule basis. You have the schedule of traveling or regular and scheduled services on advertised routes. For example, if you're looking into the routes, saya ambil contoh jalan darat je lah ya. Of course, this is got nothing to do with inland route ya. Katakanlah you nak pergi daripada sini, you nak pergi AKR, you nak pergi ke Damansara. Daripada Puncak Alam nak pergi Damansara, you have options. Whether you want to use Dash, or Dash is the fastest, but you are talking about the cost, you have toll. And then mungkin jalan dia lebih jauh, but it will direct you straight to AKR. But you also, kalau you kata tak nak lah pergi ni jalan, maybe the toll is quite expensive, you wanted to go using other routes. I'm not sure, maybe you guna laluan Subang ke, and then you masuk other apa orang kata laluan lain lah. So this is, but for linear trading or linear service, we are looking into, it has been advertise of certain routes. Katakan from Port Klang you wanted to go to Shenzhen Port, it can be a direct route from Port Klang to Shenzhen Port, or you want to have some port of intermediate port involved. Maybe they will stop at Philippines or they will stop at Taiwan. So that will be the choice of linear trading. Linear trading ni basically, if you wanted to send your cargo at one time ataupun at a regular basis, you know that there is a schedule. Macam you nak beli tiket bus, let's say to Kuala Terengganu, you wanted to buy a bus ticket from Shah Alam to Kuala Terengganu, maybe it has scheduled of twice a day. So it depends. Okay, itu exactly, bukan exactly lah. Hi Gurmeet, I got class. Sorry. How's life? Recently I went to Turkey for lecture. Cakap lah. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Wish you the best. Yeah.
Take care. Okay, so sambung balik. Banyak sangat interruption, jumpa kawan lama. Okay, jumpa kawan lama lupa nak cakap kat you all, so tunggu kejap kan, terus terpa je. Okay, so that is linear trade. So can you have the idea of how linear trading is all about? Benda tu being scheduled. You know that you are transmitting your cargo from one place to another place, so you can choose. Contoh macam I bagi contoh tadi lah kan, nak pergi Kuala Terengganu, you boleh pergi beli super nice ke, you beli tiket bas mana-mana ke, it's up to you upon your, apa orang kata, upon your availability or suitability of yourself. So linear trade is on that basis, regular and scheduled services on advertised route. But it differs from charter service. Charter service is when ship owner makes available part or whole vessel to charter for the carriage of the goods for a particular voyage or for a certain period of time. Okay. Again, I will use the example yang biasa you all ni. Katakanlah musim perayaan, usually during hari raya lah, UiTM will charter buses from Puncak Alam campus to Kelantan, to Terengganu, to Johor. So that is on a charter basis. Let's say from Puncak Alam to Kota Baru, two buses. Dah masuk dah. I stop here dulu kejap. Later nanti kita sambung balik ya. I nak kena jumpa doktor. Sekejap ya. Nanti I beritahu dalam group.